Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolin Media. I am your host, Ross Bolin, and I think I am finally settling in to this Astros season. Hopefully many of you are feeling the same way. Every year during baseball season, within every fan base who has a competitive team, there exists the urge to overreact to short stretches of games, to one series, even to one game, or a simple two-series stretch gone awry. And as a result, the shit feels like a roller coaster ride. You're up, you're down, you suck, you're crowned. There is no stability, no consistency. And we have certainly experienced all of that as Astros fans with our 50th game of the season coming tonight. Here is the reality, though. We won 11 of 12 games before dropping our last two games to the Milwaukee Brewers. 11 of 12 games made us the hottest team in baseball at that point. And that happened with our discombobulated roster that isn't exactly in tip-top shape health-wise or performance-wise. We're still 8-2 over our last 10 games. We are 3 games back of the Arlington Rangers in the division as they have stayed hot. And our next series is against the lowly Oakland Athletics in Oakland. We are in a really good spot, all things considered. But it hasn't really felt that way, has it? I think Jose Altuve coming back and then having this weird unspecified illness that caused him to be pulled during the middle of that Brewers game, it has people rattled. I think the Astros continuing to play injury reports and plans regarding injured players and their returns as closely to the chest as possible has people rattled. I think the lack of consistency in our batting lineup, in our starting lineup overall, and in our offensive performance has people rattled. But overall, we're in a great spot, all things considered. We are number 1 in earned run average, meaning for all the shit our pitching staff has taken thus far this season, they are inarguably holding it down. Number 1 in ERA. That being said, Montero stinks. He stinks. The guy is tough to watch. We're at the point now when he comes out of the bullpen, every single Astros fan groans. But as Michael Schwab pointed out on Twitter, at MichaelSchwab13 on Twitter, Montero's ERA with different catchers on the Astros is some wild shit. When Maldonado is catching Montero's ERA is 2.08. But when Salazar is catching him, it's 13.50. When Diaz is catching him, it's 19.29, which makes you think, in terms of trends, maybe Maldonado, when he's catching, is the only time that Montero should come out of the bullpen. Montero aside, though, I have been extremely impressed with our ball club's ability to plug the holes created by a lack of Lance McCullers Jr., Jose Urquidy, and Luis Garcia. Bielak, which is how I'm pronouncing his name, Bielak, has been solid overall. Although he remained in the game a half inning too long against the Brewers and is seemingly having trouble giving up bombs. Like the only thing he gave up in that entire game was home runs. But overall, he has looked solid as a replacement, as a hole plugger. JP France looks like a character from one of the major league movies and generally has also been impressive through his first several appearances. We are plugging the holes well. And I have no real complaints about the pitching at this point, outside of the contract we gave to Montero looking fairly fucking awful with his 7.32 ERA thus far. Offensively, though, we're seeing a lot of the same lack of consistency we have come to know and hate over the last couple of seasons. As has become tradition, if the Astros put up double-digit runs in a game, you can bet your ass the under is a fucking lock during their next outing. We scored 12 runs against Milwaukee in the opener of that series, then failed to put up a single run on the board over the next 2 games. This team desperately needs the likes of Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker to step up and be the all-stars we all know they can be in games where Jordan either isn't available or is struggling at the plate. And of late, that simply hasn't been the case. Thus, the inconsistency in run production. Jake Myers has stepped up to the point that Jake Myers has made us all look like assholes for freaking out on Dusty Baker when he started over Chas McCormick. Jake Myers has been on fire for the last few weeks and really, really impressed all of us on both sides of the ball. He's making great plays in the field. He's making great contact at bat. He looks confident, he looks healthy, and he has earned the right for all of us to stop questioning his role in the lineup for the time being, to be sure. Jose Abreu, on the other hand, remains a dumpster fire, the opposite of clutch, and largely unimpressive. Jeff Bagwell, who has been in the booth as a commentator over the last few games, which has been interesting, in large part because he's such an untraditional commentator and so casual with his takes, and also because he's such an amateur boomer in there that he's playing Scarface songs on his phone by accident, which was pretty hysterical and so incredibly Houston that it almost felt staged. Shout out to Brad Jordan, the GOAT. But Bagwell seems incredibly confident that Jose Abreu will turn it around. And it's hard to imagine that doesn't have anything to do with Bagwell being the one who recruited Abreu to the team. But still, it's Jeff Bagwell. He knows things about hitting that we as fans simply do not. And his word definitely means something. It's just hard to believe him at this point while Abreu looks largely lost in every single at-bat, especially with runners in scoring position, to the point that I find myself wishing Dusty would pinch hit for him. He's just not there. You can tell he's not comfortable. I don't know if it's that he's not locked in or he's lost confidence, but something has gone horribly wrong with Jose Abreu through his first 49 games in a Houston Astros jersey. There have been short stretches where you're like, okay, he's making contact. Granted, the ball's not going very far. But we're at the point now where Astros Twitter is literally trying to will him to a home run as his continued longest stretch of his career without a bomb goes on. If we want to compete for another World Series trophy, Jose Abreu has got to be an offensive threat, a much more significant part of the offense than he's been at any point through 49 games. So I guess for now, all we can do is hope he's saving the good shit for when it matters most, which is not beyond the realm of possibility. It's starting to remind me a little bit of Yuli Gurriel in 2022, where he was largely ineffective during the regular season, and then when push came to shove in the postseason, he got all the clutch hits that we needed him to. He was putting the bat on the ball, moving base runners, and getting RBIs. Which again, I'm not that, right now, Abreu, frankly, the light is shining on him a little bit brighter because so many other guys are failing to produce. I think if the rest of the team was clicking as they should, we wouldn't be talking so much about Jose Abreu. I'm not that worried about it at the moment. It's the regular season. It's early. He's in a new city, in a new jersey, on a new team, trying to find himself again and figure out how he fits in. I understand all that. But as the season goes on, we need to see him regain his confidence and get things together behind the plate, because right now he's just a mess, and he cannot be the way he is now in the postseason if we want to have postseason success again. He just can't. So as fans, it's my read that most of the nervousness and overreacting through the beginning of the season has mostly been caused by injuries and a lack of roster consistency, leading to a lack of consistency in run production. And considering the star power we have at the plate between Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, and Alvarez alone, it's hard to imagine that lasts forever. The fact that the pitching is doing as well as they are, as long as the pitching remains solid in the face of adversity, I have no concerns about the Astros longer term. Has it been tough sledding? Not really. It's more like weird sledding. And there is a lot of baseball left to be played. So settle in with me, Astros fans. And remember that as Bob Marley said, every little thing is going to be all right. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. One thing about Houston that you better make peace with if you want to survive, it is fucking hot in the summer. And if you don't dress accordingly, you'll die accordingly. Bird Dogs will have you looking good and feeling good all summer long in the most comfortable and versatile shorts, pants, and bathing suits in the entire world. I have been wearing Bird Dogs for several years now. They cannot be beaten. I wear them to sleep. I wear them to eat. I wear them to do yard work. I wear them to work out, to go swimming. I wear them to do everything. They fit great, they feel great, and they look great. They're just great shorts. I would argue the GOAT. They even look great on my chicken leg having ass. They're great. I've got the Art Fart Knockers, Duffy the Vampire Slayers, Uncle Bucks, and Teddy Rubskins, just to name a few if you haven't noticed. They all have funny names. I've got the Forest Pumps, the Marco Pool Boys, Zero Dark 30s, and Tightwads in my latest box from Bird Dogs, which you can actually see over my left shoulder. If you want to look like money while you're working in the yard or swimming at the pool this summer, or look great on the golf course in their pants or at the bar and feel comfortable and breezy, even though it's 110 degrees outside, Bird Dogs are the move, friend. Their pants are great for the golf course, the office, or going out to dinner or hitting the bars. Extremely versatile, and they look good. You will feel so comfortable that you will think you look like ass, but you don't. You look like fire. So click on the description below to go to birddogs.com, enter code BTC at checkout, and they will throw in a free Yeti-style tumbler with every order. That's birddogs.com, code BTC, to make sure you look good all summer long and you feel even better, and you will get a free Yeti-style tumbler with every order. Birddogs.com, code BTC, as in banging the can. This Rockets offseason continues to provide plenty of talking points, with Jalen Green being interviewed on Paul George's podcast earlier this week and addressing the James Harden rumors. Basically, Jalen Green admitted to seeing the good and the bad about the possibility of adding James Harden. He was agreeing with Paul George that it could stunt his progress in some ways, with Harden as obviously a very ball-dominant point guard. But in other ways, it could open up his game, teach him things, and help him take steps toward the next level. I said last episode that I was pretty definitively out on James Harden coming back to the Rockets. And while I have waffled back and forth a bit, sort of day by day since then, ultimately, I think where I land is that you just have to trust Ime Udoka and Raphael Stone to make the decision that is best for the team. People keep acting like we didn't just sign and land a top 5 coach in the NBA in the form of Ime Udoka. Like he's just going to bring in James Harden without considering the consequences, not only for next season, but in the seasons to come as we continue to develop an extremely young roster of talent. Look, the man needs to be given a chance to cook. Ime Udoka does. And while I realize and understand the fears around a potential James Harden reunion and all of the emotional baggage that we've picked up as fans over the last several years with James, I'm just no longer willing to sit here and pretend I know that it would destroy our rebuild if we brought James Harden back. I simply don't know. I don't know. It's dependent on so many things. The first of which, obviously, is the contract. What he's willing to do in terms of flexibility, numbers-wise, for the franchise, right? And then, like, what role he's willing to play. How much he is willing to dedicate himself to making sure that his main goal is to get everybody else open looks. If he's willing to do that, I think that quote about him wanting basketball freedom that came out in the media really threw Rockets fans, myself included, for a loop. Like, whoa. I remember what basketball freedom looked like. No, thank you. But the fact is, the media narratives and headlines that come, especially like when we haven't even gotten to the offseason yet, like the playoffs are still going, they're usually horseshit. These dudes are just generating clicks. They're taking quotes out of context. They're making up nonsense. This is not where we should be concerned currently. None of us know what's going on behind closed doors. None of us know about the conversations they've had or hadn't had with James Harden. And we're just not at a point where I think we need to waste a ton of energy freaking out over this anymore. Frankly, if you watched Harden play in Philly and you watched the style he played with, then there are a lot of ways that he could be a super positive contributor for a couple of years, spurring the growth of the likes of Alperen Şengün, of Jalen Green, of Jabari Smith Jr. Like, we just don't know. We don't even know who we're taking in this next draft, if we're even going to be using the number 4 pick or we're going to be trading that. Like, we don't know yet. We don't have enough information, and as such, I myself personally am recommending for myself personally and for everyone else that we just stop with the James Harden drama for the time being, because I think Ime and our GM, Mr. Stone, deserve a bit of trust from us as fans for at least one full season of operating together and steering the ship together, and for us to all be here in this offseason that hasn't even started yet, flipping out over potentially bringing back a Hall of Fame all-time scorer and passer in NBA history, one of the more creative basketball players to ever walk the face of the earth in James Harden, is simply nonsensical. We just don't need to do it. Also, yesterday, Jalen Green went live on Instagram, and fans were flooding the comments asking him to either pull out a pistol or not pull out a pistol. Like, some people were saying, like, show us a gun. And other people were saying, like, for the love of God, don't pull out a pistol. And I didn't expect him to, but he actually acknowledged the comments and laughed. And then he actually responded, stating that he does not have a gun, which I do not buy for even a second, but am happy that he's self-aware and intelligent enough to know to lie and to also not bust it out on Instagram Live, because that is quite literally the last thing we need as a franchise at this point. And I hope Ja Morant is getting the help that he needs. But in closing, as fans, as Rockets fans, we have a responsibility to largely ignore trade and roster rumors, at least until the offseason is actually underway after the conclusion of the NBA Finals. The trade suggestions and scenarios circulating on the internet over the last several days are completely idiotic nonsense. It's got people all riled up for no reason. Look, here are the facts. There are 3 teams currently still involved in NBA basketball right now: the Denver Nuggets, the Miami Heat, and the Boston Celtics. So what do the sports writers have to do to keep these other fan bases, like Rockets fans, engaged? They have to circulate nonsense. There have to be trade rumors, trade possibilities, free agent signing rumors, all that shit. That's the stuff that keeps the clicks coming from people who aren't Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, or Denver Nuggets fans. And that's what you're seeing right now. It's a whole lot of smoke and puffed up bullshit. And until there's any actual fire, which is not going to be a thing that we see occur until the offseason actually occurs, we got to ignore it. Unless you just want to drive yourself crazy, which is your right as an American sports fan. Have at it if you must, but I will no longer be participating in that nonsense. It's too much drama. It's too much stress. I've done this too many times to myself. I'm 35. I know better at this point. I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it. Chill. Wait and see what actually happens, and then you can react. Because frankly, if our front office is taking cues from social media fans on what to do next, we're all fucked regardless. So you're probably wasting your breath or your finger muscle strength by typing away on your keyboard or on your phone, trying to say, we should do this or we should do that. Like, nobody's reading this shit or listening to my show and going, you know what? I think that's the move. Like, the Raphael Stone or Ime Udoka are out there like surfing the fucking web for takes that they think translate. That's just not the way it works. So save it. Save yourself the energy and the trouble. Miami Heat, Boston Celtics. So the Heat obviously went up 3-0, which historically I think it's like there's like 175 teams that have gone down 3-0, 3-0, and no one has ever come back and won that series. We hit a point yesterday with the Celtics coming out and dominating the Heat from both ends of the floor the entire 4 quarters, where I think it is a possibility. Like, obviously, mathematically, the odds are a lot higher now that it's 3-2 than it was when it was 3-0. But just like, they still have to win 2 more games. They have to win in Miami. I'm having a hard time imagining Jimmy Butler is going to allow himself to be the first, to be a part of a team, the first team ever to let another team come back from down 3-0. Everybody remembers that famously this had never happened in baseball either, and then the Boston Red Sox came back and beat the Yankees or whatever. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's sports. Anything is possible. Kevin Garnett, taught us all that. But I don't see it. I really, really don't. Like, I saw today that the gambling odds for the Celtics to win the NBA championship are actually better than the Miami Heat. I don't find that to be something that is appealing for me to bet on personally. Like, I just don't see it. I think the Celtics have shown a lot of grit and toughness by battling back and getting 2 games for sure. I just don't understand. Like, they went down 3-0. They're still the mentally weak, outmatched team that allowed that to happen. Nothing has changed all that much week to week. They may have gotten it together a little bit, had their backs against the wall, and they play better that way. But I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. Jimmy doesn't strike me as the dude that's going to allow that to happen. And I expect that the Heat will take Game 6 or Game 7. Not that I wouldn't be excited to see a Game 7 and the possibility, like at that point, then for sure, all of the fucking pressure shifts back to the Miami Heat, because at that point you're thinking about, oh my God, are we about to be the first team to blow a 3-0 lead? And it gets a little scary, but I just don't, I can't make myself see it. So I'm also just a Jimmy Butler guy. I think at this point, if you're an NBA basketball fan and you're not a Jimmy Butler guy, you're kind of a hater. But he's also from Tomball. He's an H-Town type dude. So let's just say I'm rooting for him for a variety of reasons. I'm a big fan of his, and I don't see him dropping 2 more games to the Celtics. I just don't fucking see it. And I'm not a big fan of Boston. And look, it's been reported that they never recovered from the Ime Udoka exit, which is our new guy. So I'm kind of rooting for them to fail just to show the value of Ime, right? That will do it for today's show. But remember, every episode of Banging the Can is available on youtube.com/@bangingthecan. For those of you who would rather watch than just listen, I appreciate all of you who have subscribed on youtube.com/@bangingthecan. And frankly, even if you don't care to watch, I would appreciate you taking the time to subscribe on YouTube so we can continue to grow the show. Show your support that way. It means a lot. And on that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Support our sponsors as well. This week's sponsor is Bird Dogs. You go to birddogs.com, you use code BTC at checkout, and you'll get this free Yeti-style tumbler that I'm holding in my hand right now and showing you if you're watching on YouTube with your purchase of the most cool and comfortable shorts or pants known to man. It's a phenomenal tumbler. It's free. It comes with your order, and that alone should make it worthwhile. On top of that, you're getting the most comfortable and versatile shorts known to man, or pants. Like I said, if you're looking to go golf and you're one of those people that doesn't want to wear shorts when they golf, or you're looking to wear some cool, breathable, comfortable pants out to the bars at night or whatever in Houston when it's a ridiculous amount of hot, even in the evening, Bird Dogs are a phenomenal option, and they're sponsoring our show. So go birddogs.com, code BTC, free Yeti-style tumbler with your purchase. Thank you to Apollo Media in Houston and Dez at Apollo Media specifically for the merch package that you sent. I really appreciate it. And for the Peace, Love, and Heaters shirt I'm wearing on today's show. I believe this is a Stanek-inspired design. I love it. It's the, what is this called, Kade? When the hippie shirts, what are they called? What is this? Tie-dye. It's a tie-dye shirt. Thank you, producer Kade. One of my favorites that they sent me, Peace, Love, and Heaters. Go check out Apollo Media's merch on their website. Check out my media startup, Bolin Media, at bolinmedia.com. My comedy show, The Ross Bolin Podcast, which you can get wherever you're getting Banging the Can. Follow us on TikTok at Banging the Can, as well as Instagram and Twitter at Banging the Can. I am Ross Bolin. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBOLEN, WR Bolin on Twitter and Instagram. I will be back next week. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.